Would you believe that in 1926, a French farmer filed a patent for a device that required no fertilizer, no pesticides, no tractor, just a single copper wire, and it made corn grow 10 feet tall and pumpkins as big as car tires? The French Agricultural Department sent people to look at it. The British Royal Agricultural Society sent a committee. They took photos, wrote reports, and admitted the results were astonishing. Then, almost overnight, the technology vanished from the face of the earth. Even the French farmer's name was half scrubbed from the record. I'm telling you, this isn't science fiction. This is an agricultural black technology that was strangled by the profit machine of commercial fertilizers. Today, I'm going to peel back the whole story of that copper wire for you. Not so you can go challenge big corporations, but so you can understand those expensive bags of stuff you buy, you might never have needed them in the first place. The story starts in 1926. That year, a French farmer named Justin Christofleau filed a patent in Switzerland, number CH186480A. He called it an electro-atmospheric receiving apparatus. It sounds like voodoo, but it was just a stack of copper and steel plates stuck in the ground with a copper wire antenna above. He claimed it could capture atmospheric charge, direct it into the soil, and make crops explode with growth. Guess what? French newspapers sent reporters to his test fields. They took pictures. The corn stalks were taller than a man. The tomato vines were as thick as a child's arm. The British Royal Agricultural Society sent a committee to verify on site. They came back and wrote a report confirming a significant increase in yield. Even the London Times covered it. All across Europe, the agricultural world was buzzing. No fertilizer, no compost, just a copper wire, and yields went through the roof. How could that be? Then something strange happened. Sometime in the late 1930s, Christofleau's name suddenly disappeared from textbooks and agricultural journals. As if he never existed. His patent was still there, but nobody talked about his experiments anymore. Why? The answer wasn't in the fields. It was on the battlefield. In 1939, World War II broke out. Wars need explosives, and the main ingredient in explosives is ammonium nitrate. During the war, nations poured astronomical sums into building chemical plants that ran day and night producing ammonium nitrate. When the war ended in 1945, nobody needed the explosives anymore. But those plants couldn't just shut down. Billions of dollars in investment, tens of thousands of jobs say what to do. The chemical giants had a bright idea. Repackage ammonium nitrate, call it nitrogen fertilizer, and sell it to farmers. At the same time, wartime poisons like DDT were rebranded as pesticides and pushed onto farms. The war ended, but the war machine just changed its clothes and kept running. Now think about it. If Christofleau's copper wire really could triple corn yields for free, who would buy fertilizer? Who would feed those multi-billion-dollar chemical plants? So copper wire technology went from Greek discovery to the biggest agricultural hoax of the 20th century. The textbooks called it unscientific. The agricultural department said it was not reproducible. But the old photographs are still there. The patent is still there. And those committee reports are still gathering dust on archive shelves. All right, enough history. You are probably asking, does this stuff actually work? If I go home and stick a copper wire in my garden, will my tomatoes go crazy? The answer is, it depends on which method you use. Christofleau's method was passive electroculture just a copper wire acting as an antenna, hoping to absorb static electricity from the air. The results were wildly inconsistent. Worked one day, failed the next, depending on weather and humidity. Many scientists tried to replicate it and got conflicting results. That is why it never made it into mainstream agriculture. But don't throw away that copper wire just yet, because another form, Fe-active electroculture, Fe, has been proven to work genuinely. And get this, the Chinese government spent nearly 30 years and over $20 million on large Fe-scale field trials, producing rock Fe-solid data. Here is how it works. Instead of just sticking a wire in the ground, you string high Fe-voltage copper wires above the crop canopy and run 20,000 to 50,000 volts of static electricity through them. That electric field directly kills airborne pathogens, Fe powdery mildew, downy mildew, gray mold, Fe reducing disease incidence by 70 to 100%. At the same time, the field speeds up photosynthesis and doubles the rate of nutrient transport. The results shocked domestic and international observers. Vegetable yields increased by 20 to 30% on average, fertilizer use dropped by over 20%, and pesticide use dropped by 70 to 100%. On the extremely arid, salty soils of the Gobi Desert in Xinjiang, this technology has turned barren land into high-yielding vegetable greenhouses. Today, China adds more than 100,000 hectares of new high-voltage electrostatic farmlands every year. This isn't an old wives' tale. It is national Fe-level agricultural extension. So the question is, for us regular home gardeners, we can't string 20,000 volts over our backyards. What is the alternative? There is an old Fe-time poor man's version that has been tested for centuries. Here is what you do. Get a piece of pure copper wire, about 3 to 4 inches long. Wait until your tomato plant stem is about as thick as a pencil. Then, about an inch or two above the soil line, push the copper wire straight through the main stem. Leave the same length sticking out on both sides. The copper wire will release an extremely tiny amount of copper ions into the stem over time. Those copper ions do two things. First, they act as a natural systemic fungicide, protecting against many soil Fe-borne diseases. Second, when the plant is slightly wounded this way, it triggers a natural stress response mechanism, pushing it to flower and fruit harder. It is called stress-induced productivity. This method was passed down by an old Australian farmer named Bramble. He used it for 37 years and swore by it. In an interview, he said his tomato vines produced so much fruit, they bent the support stakes. I searched around and found that quite a few Chinese home gardeners have also posted online confirming this stem Fe-piercing trick. Some said the tomatoes set so many fruit I had to add more stakes. Others said pepper stems thickened up and yields doubled. Of course, some people tried it and saw no difference. Even the Australian Department of Agriculture ran side Fe B-side trials. Half the participants saw benefit, half didn't. So whether it works for you or not, you'll have to try it yourself. Let me summarize. Can one copper wire triple your harvest? If you are talking about passive electroculture Fe voodoo, results vary. But if you are talking about high Fe voltage electrostatic farms Fe, the data is solid. And if you are talking about the old copper Fe wire Fe through Fe stem trick, Fe, it costs practically nothing and is worth a shot. In gardening, many of the techniques that have been officially debunked often have an invisible profit motive behind the debunking. Fertilizer companies don't want you to know that your soil never needed bags of NPK in the first place. The soil can live on its own, as long as we stop treating it like a dead thing. Comment below, Fe, are you going to try poking a copper wire through your tomato stem? Are you brave enough to challenge this agricultural black technology that has been buried for nearly a century? Hit like and subscribe. Next time I'll show you another metal that makes peppers go crazy. Take care of your garden, and it'll take care of you. I'll see you next time.